first order. We'll do the invocation, please.
Brought us together. Lord, we just thank you for the safe trip that we had over. Lord, we just thank you for all that are gathered here today and those families and communities that they represent. We just ask such a blessing upon all those that are unable to be here such as well. Lord, we just thank you for the many blessings that you have given us throughout this day and every day. For with us now, as we go into this meeting, Lord, just give us a spirit of unity and working together for the betterment of our people. All these things we ask you.
Amen. Roll call.
Kendall Leary.
Present.
Joe Baker.
Here.
Joe Angren.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Arthur Connor. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Meredith Brady.
Here.
Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskins.
Here.
Bill Johnson.
Here.
Taylor Keating. John Keener.
Honey.
Dr. Bob Martin.
Honey.
Marvin Shopman. David Thornton.
Present.
Sarah Cowan Watts. Phyllis Yarden.
We have approval of the minutes for September 28th regular session. All those in favor? All opposed, same sign. Yes, Bill Johnson.
Madam Chairman, there was also a set of minutes passed out from the Executive Finance Subcommittee /PAC of October 16th, 06. I'd like to add those to the agenda for approval, and I would so move.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a chair? Yes.
Are those, oh, I see.
Yes.
If we were not present and are not part of the committee, how can we vote on these?
We'll take a vote of one of the members of that subcommittee. Is that right?
My question, Madam Chair, I have officially withdrawn from this committee almost a year, at least a year ago. Still haven't used committee access on like that.
Okay. So noted. Those that are members of the PAC committee, I had approval of these minutes. Some with a yay for approval.
Aye.
Okay. Those opposed? Carries. Financial report, Pansy. How are you this afternoon? That sounds great. That sounds refreshing.
All good news. How's that?
Great.
Net assets are up 22.9 million, so we're doing really well. But the most exciting news that I have today is that once again, Cherokee Nation is the recipient of the GFOA award. The Governmental Financial Officers Association has awarded us for the 2005 audit the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. We are one of 4 tribes in the entire United States to receive this award. We have received, as of last week, we received the Arkansas Riverbed Funds for 2005 and 2006 from the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the land acquisition, and we are working on submitting the 2007 request since the budget was passed, so that we can continue purchasing land. And currently, your accounting department is working under a very aggressive audit time frame. We are wanting to finish out all the journal entries and reclasses and that kind of thing by tomorrow. So hopefully the programs and departments will get that finished out on the schedule. Our goal this year is to have the CAFR completed and ready for the auditors by December 8th. You have my financial report. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer those.
Council have any questions? Pansy? Yes.
Just a suggestion, since most of this Arkansas River money was in District 3 and 4, don't you think it should stay in 3 and 4?
Well, Mr. Garvin, I'm kind of thinking that probably I'll let the council make those decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any other questions? Pansy, you had good news. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enterprises? Yes. Sean, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Doing good. We completed our first close on our financials for September, and those came out late today. I'm not sure if they made it out to you. We're reporting out $9.2 million in the first close for September. Had a good month, and don't anticipate that to change much, if any, over the next second, third close before we shut close down for 06. Some of the things that have gone on. The art show was a couple of weekends ago, and I hope everybody got a chance to attend that. It's an event that we hope continues to grow, and I think it went well from all the feedback that we had. Brief update on the projects. We mobilized this week at West Siloam. They'll begin work up there. That project is, we've let the bids on the first bid package, which is the site work up there. And that's broken out into three different phases. And phase 1 went out yesterday for bid and should be back in a couple of weeks. And then package 2 and 3 will go out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. They'll be mobilizing on that site this next week. At Roland, the Travel Plaza continues to go up. They've had 39 rain days there, so that's delaying completion of that project. We anticipate being done with that in December and open for business. The Roland expansion will get underway this month. We will begin letting bids on that towards the end of November. And that will be the extension to the east of additional back office. And then on the south side will be the restaurant. Built onto that with a nice frontage. We'll relocate the smoke shop from the front to the back, and that will become a smoke shop, kind of slotted corner, kind of like what you see at the 2-cent Siloam now. So that's really good. We have a board meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Everyone's invited to that. And we also, at that board meeting, will be renewing our credit line with Bank of America. That comes up annually, and we'll be renewing that. So, if there are any additional or any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Council, last question? No questions.
Thank you.
Industries? Dennis? How are you with that?
You say which one, but I think it's Dan.
We just finished our closing today, so we weren't able to get the formal statements out. I'll have those sent to those Tuesday.
Okay.
And I did send a summary sheet that gives the sales and revenues for September and also year-to-date for those who bought first quarter. September was coming 20 months for us. Profit was down in all the business units. But the year-to-date, you're still on track to probably get around 100 million in sales. I think we'll probably get $1 billion in profit by year-end. But it's good that month was a little bit disappointing. The year-to-date sales is $26,846,000, and year-to-date profit is $564,000. For the month, we had $8,427,000 in sales. We did have a loss overall of around $189,000. That really includes the question that I have. I said that that's kind of a summary, so I'm going to get a lot of questions, but I think it's a full report.
Next week?
Tuesday.
Yes, all right. Council have questions, Dennis? Okay, we'll be back, we're looking forward for the summary details. Thank you. Historical Society?
Just wanted to briefly let y'all know how things are going over there at the Heritage Center. They're pretty good. The funding that the Cherokee Nation provided, by the Cherokee Nation's fiscal year end, we used 96.53%, and that's really made a difference over there. We've also been able to use 79% of our unrestricted funds to pay off the long-term debt. So we're making good progress, and I think we're still on track to have any debt paid off by the end of 2007. I did hand out something before the meeting. If y'all have something about the outreach program, this is just an example of how this money is making a difference. We've launched this new initiative, which will be available to schools in the 14 county district, 14 county area, so the Cherokee Nation, and just sort of is a way to reach 86 schools and over 20,000 Cherokee students in those schools. So it's really a difference, and we're excited. We've got some villagers that are really excited about getting out and having a presence in the schools. So spread the word to the districts and the schools as well as you can on that. We've also launched a two-pronged fundraising drive where we're trying to reach our members and our expired members, and hopefully that's going to turn on some of the unrestricted funds also. Admissions are up from what was budgeted, 110%, and group rates are actually up 126%. So real positive about that from what was budgeted. September again on the long-term debt, we actually paid almost $28,000 just in that month alone. We have Suzanne Medeiros has just completed an audit for the Cherokee Heritage Center and for 2005 now. And we did receive an unqualified audit with no exceptions. So we're really pleased with that, and we hope to have a bound report available for the council next month. And actually, we're so pleased with how helpful the audit was in 2006, so we're going to begin in January so that we can use the input and feedback from that. We do have a budget, and I think y'all have a copy of that. Y'all have a copy of the Cherokee Heritage Center budget for 2007. Okay, well, I apologize for that. It's fine. But anyway, when you do receive it, you'll see that it shows a net income of $450,000. This is not really a net. It's money that where $350,000 of it we intend to go to long-term debt, and then $50,000 is restricted for the Adams Fund endowment, and then $50,000 is restricted for collection and archival acquisition. But basically, this shows that at this rate, if we get 75% of our projected unrestricted budget next year, we'll be able to pay off the long-term debt on our pace. So we're real excited about that.
Sounds like good news.
I'm real positive about what's going on here. Okay. But do y'all have any questions?
Y'all have questions? Keep up the good work. Yes, sorry, Doug. You have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question. A part of your unrestricted donations, if I'm not mistaken, are supposed to be coming back to the nation to reimburse for some of the overhead expenses that the MOA was covering. Is that correct?
That's not.
Okay. Are those being paid?
They will be as soon as we figure out what we do.
Okay. Are those expenses reflected in this estimate of debt reduction?
I don't think so. Christie, can you answer that? This is our accountant. Christie Moore.
Some of the reimbursables, yes, we have we've paid back a portion of it, and some of it we've been putting towards the long-term debt.
Okay.
And they're not reflected in this number, no.
Okay. So some of your overhead that was supposed to come back to the Cherokee Nation out of your fundraising is actually being applied to debt. Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear. And also in your plans to have all your debt paid off by the end of next year, have you taken into account your obligation back to the tribe for those
Yes.
overhead items?
Yes.
Okay, so you do plan on reimbursing your overhead and paying the debt off?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Cherokee Nation business? Down there.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Quick report here. The August financials should be in your book. Cherokee CRC has total contracts now totaling about $4 million. They're doing really good, and they should end the year, September 30, 06, with a little over $300,000 in net income. We've received 2 cash distributions from this joint venture, which is fully paid off our initial investment. We invested $78,000, and we received distributions of about $125,000. Connects is working on a new contract for a rural community, which should bring about $20,000 a month in revenue, which is good news for them. It's an area where they've already pre-signed up 500 customers, so that will help a little bit there. We received revised capital budgets from CNE, which we're putting back into the consolidated 3-year plan, and that will be on our agenda to review at CNB's board meeting tomorrow. Our board meeting starts at 9 a.m. and concludes tomorrow. That's my report. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Council have questions? Ellen? No? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Moving along to community assistance. Doug?
Received in the mail a packet that identified the request for this month for community assistance. You probably noticed that the unexpended legal fees from 2006 were not rolled into this as of yet. Whenever we get a soft copy on September number 4. In addition to what we sent to you for community assistance, there are 3 add-ons to that report. One of Mr. Johnson, $500, Bartlesville Area History Museum. $300 each, Mr. Baker and Ms. Connor, Fever Girls Basketball, big fees. And Mr. Garvin requested $600 for the OK Band activity account for trade involvement. Those are in addition to what we know about. That's all the assistance for this month.
Move for the approval.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Law enforcement request? I don't think we did. Did you have one, Mel?
And they've had some requests come in from the depleted account from 06. The 07 funds won't be available until we get certification from the controller's office to the tag. The motor vehicle office has completed their 06 pre-close.
Yeah.
But those particular funds are a portion of the bottom line. And that number, they got to make sure they have all their expenses.
Right. Okay.
There is
Another month?
other big vehicles.
Normally,
Yes, Kelly.
normally it's around January when we
Okay.
finalize all of those numbers and do the allocations and get the checks ready for the schools and the law enforcement. So
Okay. Council be aware that'll be, should be happening around January then.
should be early January.
Okay, thank you.
That's consistent with previous years'
Yeah.
timeline.
Okay. Doug, you're doing one on the softball field?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That
Yes, I've got
Okay.
one. Every council have the softball field project, construction project,
Okay.
and on tape.
As I noted, the report was prepared in conjunction with Mr. Todd Enlow from Management Resources. We did get thrown somewhat of a curve late last night. I realized that some of the reports that were previously issued by another department on the construction management side were not tying with our financial system, so we had to regroup and worked diligently last night and this morning to get this report ready.
Was that fun? You were on the curb last night?
A wet one. The project's original funding was appropriated as a part of Mod 5 in January of 2005's Executive Finance Committee in the amount of $335,443. Funding passed at full council the next month as a part of Legislative Act 605. The second appropriation of funding came as a part of Mod 10 5 months later in June for $120,000. That funding was passed at full council the next month in July as part of Legislative Act 2605. And CNE contributed a $20,000 donation on July 8th. And finally, in the summer of 2006, Mr. Enlow took over the project with funding availed by CNE for another $100,000. The project is completed now at a total cost of $579,325. The table there shows you where the funding originated from, with a total of $455,443 out of Cherokee Nation appropriations and $120,000 again coming from Cherokee Nation Enterprises. This leaves an unfunded balance of $3,882 that will need to be covered by a tribal appropriation. I've requested, which is attached, a budget mod, which is not part of Mod 1 to be considered today, but I will ask that the body would consider adding it as a rider if you would make that consideration. Authorizing the transfer into the accounting unit where the final costs were incurred, as well as a request to close the project. The project had two significant areas where costs grossly exceeded the pre-construction estimates. The first one is the dirt work, and the other one is the electrical contract. The dirt work originally requested a bid for 20,000 yards of fill. The bids ranged from $135,000 down to $49,800, with the lowest bid receiving the contract on April 20th, 2005. This award was amended on May 17th, less than a month later, and increased the yardage requirement by 50% for 10,000 additional yards for another almost $25,000, and it didn't go back out for bid. Then the contract was amended again for another $21,500 a month later. The contract more than doubled in less than 60 days from the original award date, for a total of $96,200 versus an original estimate from construction management of $3,000. The second major miscalculation was in the electric cost estimate. The original estimate from construction management was $50,000. The electrical contract was bid on by one company for $90,406 on May 16th of 2005. The contract was amended a month later on June 16th, up to a total of $95,000. Be advised, the original cost estimate included only the cost of the poles and some of the light fixtures, and did not include the costs associated with the connectivity, such as the cabling, conduit, and the control panels. The bid, however, reflects only the cost of the connectivity. Therefore, the total estimate of $50,000 ended up costing $88,554 for electrical work, plus $36,300 for the poles, and $7,880 to install the poles. This totaled $132,734 compared to original estimate of $50,000. These two miscalculations make up approximately $175,000 of the total $244,000 increased cost over the original budget. The remaining discrepancies are spread across items like the sod, the fencing, concession stand, and the site finishing. There were several items on that original estimate that was missed. Now I do have detailed records of the electrical and the dirt work RFQs, the bids, the solicitations, list who they went out, and the way that they sent out for those bids, all in my office. If anyone would like to request a copy of any of that, then I can make it. I didn't want to be presumptuous and assume that everybody wanted a copy of everything, so. But I do have it. It is available at your request.
Thank
you, Madam Chair. Doug, I think a lot of us are dismayed in hearing this, and we get dismayed when we hear about some of the things happening with instrumentalities. In your opinion, if we took some time and set some standards for procurement and contract law that governmental entity and instrumentality would have to follow, do you think that's something that we could do? mean, just simple things like,
Yes.
you know, if bids are overrun, that they got to be rebid.
Yes, I think
there
we've got,
has to be active solicitation, you know, for over
Right.
a certain dollar amount, just standards that everyone has to meet, so we don't have these kind of things happening again.
I think as a minimum policy, we have pretty lengthy procedures and policies in place with purchasing and contracts department, you know, and working interactively with the Terrell office. Well, from what I could tell by reviewing this project, Mr. Keene, is that where I saw the biggest breakdown was in the internal controls over monitoring the project. Not necessarily how things instigated or how they were let out or how they were started up, but more how they progressed with the lack of oversight from the management of the project side. And you know, if laws can address that, where they can be, you know, implemented not just for the government but for all instrumentalities, I think at an absolute minimum, it's going to increase that fiduciary oversight. We are talking about obviously a significant amount of money of the Cherokee Nation that goes to capital projects.
I
Significant.
don't think it's too much to ask that there be periodic oversight on how that's done. I would agree. Somebody has to be held accountable for all of their project pod.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note on the back of this, that, you know, to read into the record, these expenditures were included in the FY06 without expenditure authority. There was an anticipation of carryover early in FY06, however, the carryover did not exist, therefore was not available on the back page of the analysis. And I just think that this council, we need to be more efficient, as Mr. Keene has suggested, in our oversight duties, and not allow and to say, oh well, we don't know what to do, and we can't do anything about it, because that's the way we feel at this point. And I think that some things need to be in place to not allow these types of frivolous expenditures to continue to exist to this degree.
Yeah, the note that I wrote at the bottom of the, referring to this?
Yes.
Okay, that note, just for clarification purposes, I wrote that note, and it is true, okay? But I do want to clarify that in some of the research that was done during your Rules Committee and this morning, it was determined that there was a transfer of some available resources out of 05 into a different accounting unit, that in 06 we never recognized that fund balance, so to speak, as available in 06 to offset some of these 06 expenditures. That's part of why when I mentioned that I asked Jamie Cole over in administration if he would prepare a quick budget. You'll see it in your packet where $21,000 of that 32 coverage was prior year funding that we didn't get on the table in 06, and now we can't appropriate an 06 budget due to retroactive application. So of the 32, there's only a need of actually $3,800 additional funding, and that was a cleanup effort that could have, and I'll take partially the blame for that, because I should have, to be honest with you, I should have caught this at the end of 2006, that we had expenditures out there without a legal budget on the same accounting unit. But we did have it, it was just on a different account.
We'll take care of that then, actually, when we get to, Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the comments that I would like to make regarding not just this, but all of our construction projects, one of the areas we need to improve from the financial reporting perspective is when we have projects that cross fiscal years. The analysis and being able to keep track of the total costs of a project. You have a budget that's 05 that ends at 05, and then you have a period where expenses are still hitting. So that's one of our main focuses right now in the finance area, is to come up with a better system of tracking these projects to provide better information, and hopefully we will all avoid any repeat of this type of mistake.
Let's hope and pray we do.
Yep.
This is major. Thank you, Kelly.
Some of the additional documents in your packet that I handed out, but behind the memo, you'll see a summarization of how much was spent for backstops, dugouts, concession stand, dirt work, equipment, lighting, fields. You can see the summary of those. And you also see what Mr. Enlow obligated of CNE's funding and what it had to be spent on. And some of those you will notice were part of the $120,000 subsidy request, like the sod that was requested. $30,000 of that $120,000 was to go to sod, and it did not go to sod.
No.
And then the next page behind there is a detail of everything that was spent through the PO process. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Council, have questions? Okay. Now we'll move on to the Cherokee Nation benefit analysis.
Okay. The benefit analysis, I approached it from an analysis of the fringe pool, since we pool all of our benefits into a central accounting unit. And the request was to see how the fringe pool activities related to a recent increase in employee prescription drug copays. Fringe pool captures all costs related to those benefits, and then we allocate them back out to all the programs that pay employee salaries. The allocation of the expenses is done each year, and we get a total benefit cost, determine what percentage that is of total salaries. Callie's department takes care of all that and ends up with a fringe benefit rate that we apply to our budget process and also apply to the actuals in our payroll system. The credit then comes back to the fringe pool to offset all the costs that it had to pay for those benefits. Although we have several different types of classifications of employees, full-time, part-time, temporary, etc., the pool pays for all the benefits. The nation has experienced a consistent increase in the fringe rate over the past several years, and to explain it, we have to understand what's driving that rate up. Factors that can drive that rate up are things like rising insurance premiums, increased actual health claims that are paid out, and transition of tenured employees earning more paid leave, as well as others. I think it's imperative that we determine if these increased costs are because of policy decisions or simply reflecting the rising costs of certain benefits like health care. It's important to note we have incurred a $5.9 million under recovery in the past 5 years, and the majority of that under recovery, or $5.3 million of it, incurred during FY04 and 05. There's a spreadsheet attached that reflects significant increases in health claims paid since 2003. Payroll-related fringes like Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, workers' comp, those payroll-related fringes have increased slightly too, but remain relatively flat in proportion to the percentage to total salaries that are paid. I've got an attachment there that provides a visualization in the graphical form. I'll get to that in just a minute. I also include some tabular data. And after I reviewed the trends of the data, I came up with a few questions that I think might be pertinent to understanding what's driving this rate up and to understand why the policy was made to increase the prescription drug copays. One is what's the anticipated savings to the fringe pool that we're expecting out of implementing a formulary drug plan with increased copays. Two, how much of that savings is projected to come from the employee copay alone? Three, what other steps or measures have we taken to address the under recovery? Or I assume this probably isn't the only step that was taken. Four, are the health clinics billing the prescription plan of our benefits when it fills an employee's prescription with IHS-funded drugs? If so, and is the drug copay waived? Have any of the employee benefit plans incurred significant premium increases over 10% for things like short-term disability, long-term disability, dental, vision, life, things that are fully insured? Another one, how many total patient visits, employee or dependents, were incurred for each of the last 3 fiscal years? Try to get an understanding what kind of volume are we having for these covered individuals against our plan. And I'd like to see the Cherokee Nation clinics volume of employee patient visits broke out of that. When seeing employees visit a CN clinic, is the patient copay waived? I believe the answer to that is yes. I believe I answered my own question. If so, is the copay deducted from the billable rate? I would assume if it's waived, it would be. But, and what year did this policy go into effect? Again, what I'm trying to get at, I realize some of these questions have already been posed to the Health Committee, but what I'm trying to get at here is an understanding of what decisions were made and when were they made that can point us to further get a better understanding of what's driving these trends. Because I'm going to show you in just a minute where the prescription copay is not driving the trend. Are the patient visit counts that are used to justify and negotiate funding levels with IHS? I'm not sure if they even are used to justify and negotiate funding, but if they are they inclusive of the Cherokee Nation employee visits? Hey, how do we get the responses to these can drive options like we just keep bumping up the fringe rate each year that we put in our budget and apply toward all of our program funding. Do we need to look at maybe a tribal subsidy, appropriation by this body to try to offset this under recovery, because ultimately at some point in time it's going to cause a cash impact. I mean, it already has $5.8 million cash impact because that under recovery is all paid out. Or do we do nothing and continue monitoring it and hope that it starts reversing itself? Obviously, the administration is aware of the problem. They showed an attempt to address the under recovery in part by increasing the copays on the prescription drugs. I assume that's the purpose and the rationale behind it. As you're aware, drug copays paid by the employees went from 5 to 10, 15 to 10, 20, and 35, and they were over 100% increase. In some cases where a 3-month supply is purchased, what previously would cost $15 will now cost $70 for the same 3-month supply. In conclusion, I believe the data clearly indicates the health claims paid is driving the recent trends, contributing to this under recovery, not the prescription drug copays that are being increased at the expense of employees. The graph confirms this assertion. If you'll turn to the next page, third page of the memo where there's 2 charts on it, you'll notice, I'll explain the bottom chart first. There are 3 major components of our fringe pool. One of them are insurances, health, life, dental, vision, things like that. The other one are the compensated absences or paid time off, annual leave, sick leave, holiday. And then the third major group is the payroll taxes and deferrals, Social Security through the 401k, 457Bs. Those 3 major groupings. And if you'll notice, the blue bar for the compensated absences is fairly flat, and so is the green for the payroll taxes. But if you notice on that bottom part, the insurances, the red line, is trending significantly from 12 in 2002, 12% of total salaries, to 18%. That's a 50% increase in the last 5 years. That insurance, and now you'll notice if you look up at the top chart, which is the total fringe as a percentage of our total salaries, the red line, that is consistent with the trend of the insurance on the chart below. But the blue line below it, if you back out the payments for the prescription drugs, if the prescription drugs was driving this trend, then you would see the result of taking those prescription drug costs out of the equation. You would see that line flatten out. It didn't flatten out. It's still mirroring the same trend. Therefore, the prescription payments don't have anything to do with the rising trend of this fringe rate. I just put some backup documentation in for your review. The policy, the prescription drug policy with MedTrack, the list of the preferred and non-preferred drug lists, and some other just backup documentation. But that concludes my report.
Thank you, Doug. And one of the primary reasons why I asked Doug to do this is obviously the impact it has on our employees. We talked about and we passed another minimum wage increase today. So when we see our employees having to deal with what's before us right now, that minimum wage increase is nothing. On the last page of this, he gives you an example of someone needing 2 medications. In the past, a 90-day supply costs $30. that same two medications today cost $140. Folks, when we're talking about our employees having to take this added financial burden without it truly changing the actual cost of our insurance, I just don't understand that. I think that we really need to help our employees, not only by helping them with minimum wage, but also helping with costs that impact their daily lives here. And folks, we all know, food prescriptions among Indian people is not very many. There's folks out there that have 6, 8, 10 prescriptions they have to purchase. This is what's driving the salary problems for our employees to a great extent, because when they have to pay these co-pays, and it's not truly impacting the overall cost of the program, then, something needs to be done about it, obviously. And when I started getting calls about this increase in co-payments, I did not realize what kind of money they were talking about. But this is real money that's taking out our employees' paychecks every single month. And so if it was driving down the cost and helping to flatten out the line here, it would be understandable. But if it's not, then we need to look at this. We need to examine this. And that's why I asked Doug, and I think Kelly has a response.
Not a response, but just a couple of comments. When you're trying to control healthcare costs, there's a limited number of things you can do. You can increase premiums that you charge your employees, which the nation, I think, had a premium increase about 2 or 3 years ago. You can change your coverage, what you're going to cover under your plan, or you can increase co-pays. Those are the 3 things on controlling your health care costs that you can do. None of those options are popular. When you look at the analysis, our reports go through, I believe, July of 2006. We don't know yet what the impact on the prescription copay will be, because we've only started that a few months ago. My only point is that these are tough decisions. None of them are popular if you want to try to control your health care costs. We have the luxury of really good benefits at Cherokee Nation. And those benefits, as you can see, cost a lot of money. The only option, if we don't increase the employee contribution, we have to keep increasing the fringe rate, and it's going up and up and up. So that's my only comment, that there's very limited ways to impact that.
Thank you. And Doug, going on with what you said, that this apparently the increase in copay is not really driving or changing the overall health rate.
Not as a percentage of salaries, no.
Not as a percentage of salaries. And we're talking about, in one instance, where one individual is paying $90 more a month for 2 medications. Well, surely if we increase health care coverage, it wouldn't cost $90 per employee. And I realize I'm only picking out one employer. I'm just saying, that's a tremendous impact on a single employee within the Cherokee Nation to go to a $90 increase in 2 medications. And so I would certainly expect us to look long and hard. We all know medical costs are skyrocketing in the United States. That's not the issue. But unless we can prove that 100% raise in co-payments is going to directly offset our health care costs, we're doing a service to the employees of this nation.
It would be nice to know what, do you know, Kelly, what was anticipated to be the recovery or the offset to this pool through the raise?
I don't have those numbers here, but I'll certainly be happy to work with Doug to get those answers.
And that was why I jotted down a few thoughts in those questions that in my mind, I mean, there are reasons behind those questions, because I'm looking for something that I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that I'm looking for something that could have an impact either by a policy decision that was made that maybe we can reverse it or alter it a little bit, or is there something that maybe we need to do an evaluation that could tell us even more about the overall health of our employees?
And I just want to say that I asked you, Doug, to do this 2.5 months ago, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't bring it forward to us until you had the complete insurance completed. You can get it, and I want you to know I appreciate that. I think now that we have it, obviously these questions will be examined, and I appreciate Kelly's willingness to look at them and see what the results of these questions. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I just had a question regarding our employees that are Cherokee, and they go to our clinic. Now, there is not a copay there. So what percent of our actual employees use our clinics and are not involved in the copay? Do you have any idea?
That's kind of one of my questions in there.
Yeah.
I don't have that information. I'm not sure I can get that because then you're getting down into the individual employee's personal medical records. What I can give you, and I think Doug has included in his report, is how much our health clinics have billed our health insurance. And that number has increased a little over the last few years. And again, that's a philosophical policy decision. You're allowing a program of the nation to bill the employees who come to our clinics, and that helps out the healthcare system, but it drives the fringe rate up. A little. I mean, it's not huge, but it does.
And I don't want anyone to think that my report, I'm not being critical of administration in this report, okay? I'm not being critical of the policy decisions they've made, nor am I accusing them of intentionally driving our fringe rate up.
No.
If an employee has to go see a doctor, the fringe rate is going to pay for that doctor visit. It doesn't matter if it's a Cherokee Nation clinic or it's Joe Bob doctor down the street. We're going to pay for that office visit. But what I was more interested in is on the prescription drugs, what are we doing with those? Because if the employee is receiving the prescription drug without any copay, okay, now that's further going to drive more employees to our clinics. There's no doubt it's going to drive employees to our clinics now with their copays doubled. Is it going to have an effect on the number of patients that clinic can see in a day? Are there going to be non-employees out there that's taking a backseat to an employee that don't have a choice on where they can go? Now, these are the type of things that are side note, valuable bits of information that's coming out of this when we understand what some of these answers to these questions are. If the prescription drugs are funded by IHS at the clinics, and then the health department provides that script to that employee, and then turns around and bills our insurance company, of which the health department didn't have any cost basis in it, I'm not sure we ought to be doing something like that, if we are. And that's why that one question is in there, are we doing such a thing?
And I don't think we are, but we need to verify.
Kelly, can you take a look at that and then
Yes.
report back to us with that fact?
I don't have the answer. I hope the answers to these 7 or 8 questions are going to point us to helping us better understand how to deal with this. But I do know, in my opinion, based on my analysis, that the prescription drug copays is not what's driving this under recovery. And I would hate to see that the employees are paying more out of their pocket for something that they're not charging.
Kelly, could we have that on for next month?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to make a copy.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it on that? Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to new business. Buying cheerleaders 2A state championship.
I've had a request from the flying cheerleaders if we would pay for their rings to win the state championship. There's 13 of these cheerleaders that are Native American. Come to $3,200. 12 of the 13 are Cherokee. One of them is Chickasaw. I would like to request how much for it, $3,200.
I would move put that in form of a motion, please.
Okay, have a motion, have a second?
Second it.
Okay, have a second. Discussion, Kara, and then Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that this would be more appropriate coming from the councilman's personal general assistant, because if we were to do this for the entire Cherokee Nation, assuming 15 and only for the 15 rings at the same cost and only for the 15 just in the jurisdiction, we would be spending approximately $50,000 just on rings, and I think that would be more appropriately spent on long-term things that add to a student's education and things. But I can't support it. If it was something out of his general assistance, that's his decision, but it's not mine or how we should spend our money for the tribe. Thank you.
Did we not do this for Coyer and them? It's only in state championship usually.
Yes, this is state championship.
And in those cases, they're not all Cherokee.
Not every day.
They're not all Cherokee either.
No.
Not supposed
David, you know, Joe?
So that's what I was going to bring up. You know, since I've been here, we bought jackets and rings for basketball, boys and girls. We bought the same thing for the cross-country team. And I want to tell you, people, these schools out there are thinking, we've got more Cherokees than what they have up there. And we're higher percentage Cherokee. Why are they getting a $10 million gym where we could take $1.5 million and build us a gymnasium? But I don't want to get into that. I just want to say I think we'll have to treat them all the same, and that's what we have.
Joe?
I was just going to make a comment going along with what Taylor and David said. Percentage-wise, there's probably more Cherokees than the particular thing David's talking about than some of the others that we've bought rackets or rings for. So, you know, I mean, that was my thought.
You?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last year, Collinsville girls softball, they won state championship. There was 5 or 6 Cherokees on that state championship team, and I used my general assistance money to help them. That was a personal thing, and I just don't believe that we should be using Cherokee money to fund these public schools. Or it's just going to get out of hand. We're going to be baseball won state championship last year, and I can guarantee you, I didn't come begging for money from the Cherokee Nation. There's a lot of Cherokees on that team, but I just think you're opening up a whole can of worms for something like this. I think you can do it with your general assistance money, but not Cherokee Nation money.
Other discussion? Don?
Looks like Muskogee's going to have a state championship football team this year. A couple other schools have would like for you to help me on that too.
How do you put your money request in, Don, when they win?
I think they're going to win.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Because Sequoia High School, I did not at the time agree with giving them new money or jacket money, but the point was made, it's a valid point, that they are the school we're responsible for and we've chosen to take on, and it's on our property, and they have no tax base per se, as in commitment from local businesses and those kind of things in order to support those kind of fundraising activities for the extras that kids might need. So I went along with that because that's a valid point, and that is a unique position. The other thing is, there's also a program for the kids K through 12, the Community Works Project, that they could apply for, and they match that. There's none of the self-help component to this. There doesn't request for half the money or part of the money, and they do the other part. It's straightforward. I don't see any valid reason to support it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
This cheerleading team, they're really good athletes, and they work out 11 months out of the year. The school doesn't support this athletic team. Each one of these cheerleaders brings forth about $1,500 a year out of their pocket to be on this team. And I think they've applied for that money that Kara's talking about. I think they got $150 a piece or somewhere around that nature. And they did community work for that. And And they're all the time trying to raise money so they're having to go to the Nationals this year. They're going to the Nationals. And they're all the time, they have a lot of fundraisers every year. But I still think we should support these people. I'm sorry. I don't know what we have in the general fund budget. I think it's a little under $8 million. I would like to see us support it.
Jonathan, Jackie Bob.
The only thing I really have to say is I think whether it's community money from an individual council member or it comes from general fund, it's all Cherokee people's money, all of it. And I think we would reward the success of our Cherokee students is a good thing, whether it's athletics or academics, and I sure want to see the academics rewarded if that should happen. But I think it's, and again, I agree. This kind of wants to, we talked about maybe 50,000 even beyond, but I still feel like it's an excellent investment in our money people. If Jackie Bob hadn't had his hand up earlier, I'd call the question. I give it the floor. Thank you, man.
Jackie Bob, thank you.
Thank you. Just comment. We used to have a practice, Mr. Thornton, before we got into the lawsuit here a year or two ago, that sometimes we'd get into these kind of situations and the council would, all of the council people would donate equal amounts, to a cause. And if we divided this up for 17 people, it'd be like $246 out of our general assistance, which I'd be willing to give the $246 out of mine, if that was agreeable with everybody else.
Phil?
But still, Cherokee people's money, excuse me, but how we do this. Thank you. I'll yield the floor.
Thank you.
I was just going to suggest that maybe if we have some pictures there, 50,000, is that what close to it, maybe then you can set that aside for 15 council members to give out 15 state things this year. That's if we want to do that. And if that's the way to handle it. But, again, it's Cherokee Nation, Cherokee money, no matter what we call it. It's all Cherokee money. And I think that the argument can be made at my school, where I work, we're over 8% Cherokee students there. And, I get asked all the time, why can't we get anything? Why can't we get a $500,000 softball field? Why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? So, it's
Your request, Phyllis.
thank you. All that's one thing.
Jackie.
Wait a minute, you asked for 3,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carol was first and Jackie Bob.
Madam Chair, I asked that we table this till next month. I don't know if my calculations were right or not. Medications can be at 6, so my head's ugly, but and I think that we need to verify numbers and that we need a legal review whether or not it's acceptable to give any kind of donation like that to an individual that would be available for next month.
I'll take that.
Have a motion, have a second to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a correction.
Okay.
My math is not up to par. That's $190 if we did it
That
that
sounds
way.
better,
instead
Jackie
of,
Bob. That
whatever.
sounds all right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill Angren,
Yes.
Bill John Baker,
No.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Arthur Connors, Joe Crittenden,
No.
Meredith Brady,
Yes.
John Garvin,
Yes.
Jack Hoskins,
No.
Bill Johnson, Taylor King, John Keener,
No.
Jackie Bob Martin,
Abstain.
Linda O'Leary.
No.
Yolanda Shawhouse. David Thornton.
No.
Kevin Fallon Watts.
Yes.
Phyllis Sharkey.
What are we voting on?
A clarification, you're voting to table or not?
I still have comments.
Yes is to table, no is to continue.
Table, no, it's not. No.
5 yeas. 9 nays and 1 abstain.
What was the category?
5 yeas. 9 nays, 1 abstain.
Okay, the motion's still on the floor for passage of this, and we do have a second. So do we have further discussion, or do we have a call for the vote? Call for question. Okay, call for the question.
What is our motion? What are we doing?
The motion is to vote for the Vine cheerleaders to a state championship.
$3,200.
Rings to be bought for the $3,200. There's one,
Or how many of them?
for
13.
13.
Including the Chickasaw?
Yes.
One is a Chickasaw and 12 are Cherokee.
You got me voting.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
No.
You gonna do a roll call?
Phyllis Sharkey.
Yes. If I missed something?
No, I just had a question.
Okay.
Clarification. This money is going to non-individuals, it's going to the school system?
Phyllis Sharkey.
Yes.
Kevin Fallon Watts.
No.
David Thornton.
Yes.
Yolanda Shawhouse. Linda O'Leary.
Yes.
Jacob Ball Martin.
Pass.
John Keener.
Yes.
Taylor Key.
Yes.
Bill Johnson.
No.
Chuck Hoskins.
Yes.
Don Garvin.
Yes.
Meredith Brady.
No, but I'd be willing to give you some of my community assistance.
Joe Crittenden.
Yes.
Albert Connor. Jack Baker.
Yes.
Bill John Baker.
Yes.
Bill England.
No.
Jacob Ball Martin.
Comment. You allow me?
I'm supposed to.
I'm not supposed to, and Mayor commented also. Did you take the vote? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I cut others off today.
But the table is non-debatable. That's a different issue.
No, that was a different issue. Okay. Yeah.
Is that right, Mr. Attorney?
Hey, I've cut some people off, and Jackie Bob wants to talk now. What is
No.
the dilemma I'm in?
You gotta vote.
Okay.
I should have made a comment before, right?
Sorry, Jackie Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
12 yeas. 4 nays.
Okay. Motion carried.
Oh, Madam Chair.
Yes.
We will include that in the budget mod for this time.
That should be done. Oh, thank you.
Second.
So motion and second to include in the budget mod, which is coming up right now. No, roads and bridges is coming. Getting ahead of myself.
We have a budget just for these type of donations now, so
We'll,
it'll come out of that budget.
okay.
The roads for this month. Motor Fuel Tank Road projects, there were a couple of completed projects that the shop pouch got $120 back on, Fairgrounds East and Woods Road. The shop pouch and O'Leary both co-sponsored $20,000 each for a total of $40,000 out of motor fuels for the East-West 140 and North-South 520 road. The motor vehicle tax funded road projects have some refunds and reclassifications. There are no new projects this month, but the East-West 150 Brady project, which was originally funded out of the vehicle tax funds, has been requested to be reallocated over to the special bridge funding. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that came at the request of the roads department, Mr. Lynn.
It is County Bridge.
Okay, and then Those other credits out there for the Stanway extension and Deer Lick Road Phase 3 are completed project refunds. Special bridge funding has $960 from Ms. O'Leary in the Anderson Bridge for a little bit of extra funding to finish that. And the other two projects are the reallocations of funds for that East-West 150 bridge project. That completes this month's road and bridge allocation.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Can I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. And have a second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, moving right along to our last item on the agenda, which is the Mod 1.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to place a couple of 3 amendments to this Mod 1 while we're sitting here. The first one would be Charlie Soap and them came to the meeting and pointed out to us that they've got some Cherokees that they've been trying to get water to for years. And we have funded the project, but due to extenuating circumstances of the water district not having big enough lines to get to them to adequately serve them, and if we put some money in this program, they can match it with IHS dollars to get these folks that have been without water or decent water for years. And so my first one is that I put $1 million into the self-help water programs to help these Cherokees that have been years trying to get rural water out in the community. So that'd be my first motion, is that we put $1 million into the self-help water line. And I think that's a form of motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, yes, Jackie Ball.
Do we need to amend the agenda first?
Oh, I suppose we do.
Actually, I don't think so. We're amending the Legislative Act, the Comprehensive Budget Act, that's already on the agenda, so I don't believe so. And Rocky Mountain is one of those projects, yes, sir.
Yes, that was my question. Is it for the specific, it's actually called Jackson Mountain Project, which is Rocky Mountain area.
Well, I think there's Jackson Mountain, Rocky Mountain, Bridge.
Killer Flat.
Yeah, there's several projects, but
Yeah,
that they
several miles, I forget
identified.
how many miles it is, but yeah, for that project, yeah.
And isn't there one in the Kenwood Self-Help Project also?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Call the question.
we're voting on the amendment to the mod, right? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the mod's been amended to include those 3 amendments.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
The second one is, as you all know, we modified the budget with $2.1 million for the employees to basically get $1,000 apiece, less their Social Security, federal, state, tax withholdings. As it worked out, the employees, there was $380 in the fringe pool taken out of each and every employee's paycheck, which brought it down to where they got $500 and $600 apiece. At this time, I want to move that we put $1.5 million into the balance of the employee bonus pool to, because I'm assuming they're going to take another $500,000 out of it, so that we make the employees whole, as we believe we were doing when we passed the legislation. So I'm going to move $1.5 million into the employee bonus pool to be divided equally among the 2,100 employees.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, have a second. Discussion? Yes.
I think one of the things that there was some confusion about at the council meeting was that, one, did we ever actually say we were going to give $1,000 bonus to each employee, or did that 2.1 just equal out 2,100 employees as $1,000, however many employees. So, I'm not sure that we actually legislated, or did we, that everybody would get $1,000 bonus. That's my question.
I think we legislated was $2.1 million to be divided equally among all the employees, which is approximately 2,100.
Yeah.
But it wasn't addressed whether that was gross or a net number. So
I went back and listened to the tape from the budget hearings. In the budget hearings, the motion was $2.1 million divided equally among all the employees.
And that's what has been done.
And that's what has been done. Other than the fact that there was some confusion about the fact that the $2.1 million included fringe and IDC. That $2.1 million, at least in the budget hearings, originated from the chief's request for some changes to the budget that he sent over. I calculated the number for him. It was about $1.3 million increase to the merit pool, and then fringe benefit and IDC costs on top of that. And that's how I got to the $2.1 million. And the number has been confused and a lot of misunderstanding, but that's how I came up with the number. I listened to the budget hearings to make sure I understood the motion that was made in committee, and it was divided equally among all the employees.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to understand. Is did we ever actually lay it out in legislation?
Well, there's a disagreement on how much is to be taken out of the indirect cost. Am I right, Doug, on that? As to how that is worked up?
Yes.
It's whether it just be taxes or whether there's other fringes or whatever indirect costs taken out, is that right?
Well, in my opinion, the fringe rate should be a discounted fringe rate applied to this check. Because this is a check that doesn't have anything to do with hours worked. And the entire fringe rate was applied to this check.
Right.
However, there was not any more annual leave or sick leave earned by anybody. There wasn't any additional insurance premiums paid by the employees. There's a portion of the fringe that absolutely applies to this, and that's the payroll taxes.
Which will be held out.
And that's about 10%. The other 25 are the other things. So in my opinion, the 10% is what should have gotten applied to this check. And the 25% should not have. But I don't sit in the secretary or the treasurer's position, so I couldn't enforce
it. And the record is saying that when we passed this, we knew about the taxes that would be held out. We didn't anticipate the fringes. That was an administrative decision.
Should we have spelled that out in that first piece of legislation,
Well,
though?
that's all we did. Really. Bill John, do you want to speak to that?
Right, and the only reason we didn't spell it out is there was no way to calculate what the unemployment, the workman's comp, unemployment, and the federal and state withholdings was going to be. There was no way. So we did that. We were reasonably sure that the fringe would not apply because nobody was going to get another day of annual leave, sick leave, none of the things that make up the fringe pool. And I truly believe that it could have been done either way. It wasn't. But we have, there's $8 million left in gen fund right now. There's more money coming forward. We have an opportunity to make the employees whole as far as getting as close to $1,000 as possible, less their unemployment and stuff. Plus, we're helping the fringe pool, obviously, because the under recovery is going to get better because they took all $900,000 out of the employees' pockets to put into the fringe pool without any compensating benefits coming out. So that's $900,000 we have to put in the fringe pool and under recovery. So that's not a terrible thing. 500. Okay.
Approximately 500.
All right. So anyway, that'll help that. It's all tribal money. It's taken out of one pocket, putting in the other pocket, but I'd like to put it in the employee's pocket. And we can do it with $1.5 million. They can take their fringe out like they did the last time, and cut a check to the 2,100 employees, and we'll get them close to what I believe my motion was originally to fund each and every one of the employees.
Phyllis, then Bill, and then Mary.
Penny?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also tried to clarify that that's what our intent was at the meeting that night. I don't know, I guess I should have said this what was we, because I evidently couldn't do it separately. So, but one of the things I think that we could have, well, okay, we back up and say, I think listening to our attorney, I've heard him use this phrase. I think if we want purple cows bought out of Adair County, we need to say we want purple cows bought out of Adair County. So I'm learning that. So if we intended for every employee to end up with $1,000 check after tax, then we should have said that. That's our fault. I know that a lot of employees were very happy, grateful to get what they got.
Well,
and I think that had I been administering it, of course I know it's not my place to do that, I would have put some other qualifiers on it and said they had to have at least 6 months of service. That could have added to the amount that other employees got. They could not have been on family or medical leave within, a certain amount of time, because they need to be active, engaged, producing employees. I fully support merit increase based on performance, but I also think that there is a sense of unfairness to our employees who were on the job, and some people who have been working less than 2 months and they got the same check as the person who's been there 15 years, and I think that had he specified some of those things and clarified some of those things, our employees would have gotten $1,000 each that we thought we clearly said.
Well, and Phil, to be honest with you, we just didn't anticipate those fringes. We didn't anticipate that amount of fringes. Because I know here we've talked about that legislation without including those fringes because it didn't have a day's work in. Let's see. We have Bill, then Meredith, and then Jackie Bob.
Phyllis pretty well said what I was going to say. I don't know if we have a probation period on new employees or not, but I would say don't include them on the bonus. And because here's a guy worked 5 years, 10 years, and then the guy's on a probation for whatever it is, 6 months, he gets the same one. You got people that goof off, you got people come to work late, things like that. And I was trying to maybe get the group leaders to determine who gets it, who doesn't. But anyway, Phil's pretty well
And
covered
they do
what I
that through
want to say.
merit. They already do that through the merit. This was a different option. Jackie Bob? Weren't you?
Well, I thought she was here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Meredith. Yeah, looking at your name.
One of the major complaints I've heard about this is from CNI, C&E, and Housing Authority. Is you people include us as part of the government whenever you need us. But whenever there's something like this come up, then we're excluded. And I'm assuming this is just for those government employees, correct? And it's really not a bonus, it's a cost of living. Because they're not basing it on merit, are they?
No.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you, Linda. Jack Bob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to support this, and I was reminded this morning by a hacked-off constituent that I had to deal with this morning before I came to this meeting. I think what it reminded me of is that they are other Cherokee citizens out here in the Cherokee world that need assistance now. And of course, I know that we have good faithful employees, but I would like to see we'll take that. I figured that up $3.6 million if we approve this. to one certain group of people. I'd like to take that kind of money and apply it to some of our programs or need people have out in our community. Thank you.
Phyllis, sorry, Audrey and then Phyllis.
No, go ahead.
Phyllis.
I just wanted to share a story if I might. My son, you know I'm always talking about him, he works at display, and he was promised to get a bonus after he worked so many days consecutively. And he never did get that bonus. You know, for some reason, he had to mix up with somebody else, but he didn't have his days counted right. He never got his bonus. He was just about ready to quit. And one day, he talked to the supervisor and found out they cleared it up. He came home with a $240 check. That was his bonus. And you would not believe that that amount of money would change somebody so drastically. If you know this son, you would know that he's one of the most difficult people to get along with. He doesn't like authority. But that he just turned around completely night and day. He's to work by 30 minutes early every day. And his supervisor and boss had commented on how great he has improved. And you know what he said? They bought me stuff this weekend. It was $240. I started to say, what do I feel? But I mean, it makes it get that I think. And the other thing about the merit, until we get in place an evaluation process that truly evaluates an employee's performance, I can't support that merit raise because our evaluation is not the form that we use. It's one that we use when I evaluate an employee. Is not one that is a true reflection of their performance. I believe it is. I don't believe it has anything to do with the job that they're doing. And we have some supervisors and group leaders who have favorites and are able to promote those and give those people increases and bonuses when they're not wanted. And I believe that if supervisors really did their jobs, we wouldn't have these employees that didn't work and they were just there wasting time and money.
Yeah, and the whole point of this is the employees that have been there more than 6 months or a year, they're in line for the 3% merit pool. And I think they're doing no checks this week, maybe? The merit check?
The merit increases if you have two options. You can opt for a lump sum or an increase to your wage, but that would be this week.
Yeah, that's this week. So those folks that have been there for 15 years and you know the considered the hardest working employees, they're being compensated right now as we speak with their yearly merit pay increase. And all I'm trying to do is get what I believe we were going to get to the people and finish what we started. And I haven't heard, I mean, I heard a few from the Housing Authority, but the Board of the Housing Authority, since we did it over here, they're looking at taking care of the Housing Authority now. And God willing, they'll get one. Everybody has been jealous of C&E all these years because they get big bonuses. All of them do. And that's been a contention of the nation, is why does C&E get bonuses and we never get one? And C&I gets bonuses. I mean, give me a break, folks. We're the only ones that don't. And I'm just saying we can sit here and do what we started out to do. And like I say, for the employees, you don't know how many people I heard from that their transmission had gone out or they needed a set of tires, and this was like a gift from heaven at just the right time. And there's never going to be a wrong time to appreciate your employees. And we've got 2,100 good employees, and I call for the question.
Okay. It's an act. No, let's see. Just don't.
It's an amendment to.
It's an amendment. All those in favor will be a yay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Roll call.
David Thornton.
Yes.
Marina Shophouse. Linda O'Leary.
Yes.
Jack Bob Martin.
No.
John Keener.
Yes.
Cherokee.
Yes.
Bill Johnson.
No.
Chet Hopkins. John Garvin.
No.
Meredith Brady.
No.
Joe Crittenden.
Yes.
Arthur Connor.
Yes.
Jack Baker.
No.
Bill John Baker.
Yes.
Bill England. Phyllis Yardy. Can I ask a question?
Madam Chair, she's supposed to vote.
Supposed to vote.
Well, this helps me decide my vote. How much is it going to cost us to administer this 1.5 million? Is that not a pertinent question?
It's a very pertinent question, but unfortunately, during the voting procedures, it's yes, no, abstain, or pass.
Well, are we going to have to go back and appropriate money to administer this? Did you do your math? And this is the, okay, yes.
Cherokee Mark.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
8 yeas. 5 nays.
Also need to amend the comprehensive budget for $3,882 to buy a $500,000 ball field.
Have a motion, do I have a second? It's
For the shortfall
supplemental.
on the ball field.
It's supplemental. Supplemental for completion.
We're buying another one.
It's in the softball field
Oh,
construction.
$3,882.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Roll call.
Joe Crittenden.
Yes.
Meredith Brady.
Yes.
John Garvin.
No.
Chet Hopkins. Bill Johnson.
Yes.
Taylor King.
Yes.
John Keener.
Yes.
Jack Bob Martin.
Yes.
Linda O'Leary.
Yes.
Marina Shophouse. David Thornton.
Yes.
Cherokee Watts. Phyllis Yardy.
Only because they have this over there on
Bill John Baker.
Yes.
Jack Baker.
Yes.
Arthur Conley.
By the time we get your name to that, run around the baby.
That's right. Now we need to vote on the total, mod one.
You want to discuss it first?
Oh, I guess we better.
I'll go through the again. October grants received $2,042,000 and 9 new awards over 3 funding sources and a couple of carryover adjustments. Mod 1 had 23 budgets in it, increasing $11.5 million. General funds increasing $2.5 million. They've got a request for a history course project for $87,000 of carryover funding from last year. Gen Fund Ops is requesting a net increase of $1.8 million. Includes the receipt of $3 million of BIA funds for the Sequoia High School gymnasium construction costs. It's related in item 17. We'll get to later. These funds will replace Gen funds utilized for the gym, as well as pay the $2.5 million loan off taken out earlier in the year. The budget's also reducing the transfer out to the Capital Projects Fund for the powwow grounds, and in turn recording these construction costs within the general fund. The community garden is requesting $21,700 of carryover funding from last year. The building construction heavier equipment is requesting their carryover $78,000 from last year. Sequoia High School Network Communication Project, same thing, for $20,000. The emergency management disaster funds requesting their carryover $23,643. Oklahoma Water Resource Board co-op agreements requesting their carryover of nearly $40,000. Jack Brown's house has almost $17,000 carryover. Marcoma Property is requesting their carryover of $111,000. And item 10, the powwow grounds, they're requesting to transfer this $250,000 project from the Capital Projects Fund into the Gen Fund. Merely an accounting change. This is not a net impact. The Warriors Memorial is requesting its carryover of $47,000, and the Orphan Cemetery is requesting $17,000 carried over. The Vehicle Tax Fund requesting $80,000 of carryover funding from 06 for Sequoia's apportionment of those car tag revenues. The Tribal Force Account for the EPC projects requesting authority for an increase due to an interprogram contract with the landfill for $50,000 related to some regulatory activities, as well as $5,654 contract with the Sacapox Nation for lead-based paint inspections. The Enterprise Funds requesting a $50,000 increase. This is the offset to the landfill with their agreement with the EPC. Department of Interior has an increase of $7.8 million. The IDC shortfall for Sequoia High School is requesting to receive that funding and authority of $56,569. The Sequoia Construction is recognizing $7.7 million of construction funding from DOI BIA with $3,079,775 of that amount earmarked for the gym. The remaining balance of about $4.7 is for other facility infrastructure and repair needs. DOI self-governance funds increasing $134,000. Real estate services requesting expenditure authority of their earmarked funding for real estate services of $65,000. The Sequoia contract support funding here to the self-governance requesting its transfer to what I mentioned earlier. The Tar Creek project requesting spending authority of $12,000 for 2 years of funding for damage assessment. IHS self-governance environmental health is requesting $77,000 for the sanitation facility project named Kenwood's Papinal Solid Waste Cleanup Project. NAHASDA is increasing by $1 million in the mortgage assistance program. They're requesting it. This is the recently increased program funding that carried over from 06 for an additional $1 million related to the 05 IHB amendment in July of 06. So these are 2-year-old monies coming back onto the table now. Capital projects funds decreasing $250,000 related to the Powell grant I mentioned earlier, and that completes Mod 1. So for approval.
Have a motion, have a second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I'll amend it for those. I'll put those 4 amendments in it before it goes to the floor full council.
Next Wednesday, November the 30th at 3 p.m.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Aye.